A mid-air crash in Watsonville, California. What FAA rules were broken? Also, a pilot flies a 172 to Hawaii from California. This and more aviation news on Taking Off. Hi, Dan Milliken here. Got lots to cover, including the Watsonville Midair and the little Cessna that could all the way to Hawaii. First, quick shout out to the sponsors, Flying Eye, sunglasses, and regular glasses for aviators that are super comfortable under headsets. Also, Colton Mortgage for your residential mortgage, ColtonTakingOff.com, and Marshall Protective Services, MPS Protects. More info in the description below. All right, the internet is all abuzz over November 490, November Whiskey. Pilot Tom Lopes flew a Cessna 172 from Merced, California, smack dab in the middle of California, and landed in Honolulu, Hawaii 18 hours later. Useful load is just under 900 pounds with ferry tank, extra fuel, equipment, and pilot. They were easily 300 or 400 pounds over max. For these type of ferry trips, this is not uncommon, and normal practice is to get a waiver from the FAA before departing. You can see from the video, it looks like there's a ram air pressure tube for moving the fuel from the ferry tank to the wing tanks. And if you want a story about what to do over the ocean when that fails, check out ferry pilot Kerry McCauley's story. It's pretty hilarious. And after completing such an epic trip across the Pacific Ocean, what did pilot Tom Lopes have to say for himself?
Yes, I got to go to the restroom.
Right up there.
18 hours.
All right, let's go.
The plane is going to be used right away for flight training, as you heard from George, and congrats to his school on the brand new Cessna 172. Mid-air crash. By now you've probably heard all about the mid-air crash between a Cessna twin-engine 340 and a Cessna 152 with a solo student pilot at Watsonville, California, just south of San Jose. Juan Brown over at Blanco Lirio has a great video on this tragedy, so I'm not going to try to duplicate, but for a quick recap.
Watsonville area traffic, Twin Cessna 740, Whiskey Juliet, 3 miles, straight in, 20, full stop, Watsonville.
The 340 was performing a straight-in approach at approximately 180 knots over the ground. Looking the 340 approach speed up with flaps and gear down, looks like it's 117 knots indicated. Richard McSpadden, with another excellent Air Safety Institute video on this, reports that 95 knots is the regular approach speed, and a history of this particular 340 shows that. Of course, that 180 is ADS-B, so ground speed, and you could argue that he very well could have been indicating slower. But that would mean he had a tailwind then, and he was going into final. So winds were 9 knots down the runway. If anything, his indicated would be higher than his ground speed. Regardless, approximately 180 is almost double his 95 he had historically done. That's extremely fast.
Watsonville area traffic, Twin Cessna 740, Whiskey Juliet, 1 mile, straight in, 20, full stop. Looking for traffic on left base.
Yeah, I see you. You're behind me.
Lima. 2998 for the altimeter at Monterey, and information Lima, November 8, Juliet.
I'm going to go around then, because you're coming at me pretty quick, man.
The 152 was on left base and turning final, and both were making calls. But until moments before the crash, neither talked to each other, and just standard position reports. Clearly, the 152 should never turn final when another aircraft is announcing final. And the 340 did not see and avoid the slower aircraft in front of him. The 152 tried to go around the 340, hit the 152, and both planes crashed, killing the 2 people on the 340 and killing the student in the 152. As pilots, we all know the traffic patterns into uncontrolled or pilot-controlled or non-towered fields. You can pick the term you like. But what does the FAA say? Did the pilots actually break any FARs? Well, clearly you could slap the 340 pilot with the catch-all 9113, careless and reckless. But if you do a straight in, are you breaking a FAR? If you enter the traffic pattern in a non-standard way, is that a FAR violation? If you enter the pattern too fast, is that a FAR violation? I wasn't sure as I thought about this tragedy. And I've done a straight in before at an untowered airport, and I'm betting you have too if you're a pilot watching this. And if you're IFR, there's clearly allowances for the straight in. The 340 was not IFR, by the way. So am I breaking an FAA rule if I do a straight-in approach VFR to an untowered field? I researched it, and this is what I found. In the Advisory Circular 9066B, Section 8.2.1, states clearly the FAA does not regulate traffic pattern entry, only traffic pattern flow. The pilot of the 340 was dropping altitude rapidly and was 180 knots on short final, but he was not wrong for doing the straight in. While not wrong for the straight in, he certainly was reckless and careless, and it could apply here. And his penalty was death, and the death of 2 others. And maybe I'm being a little harder on the 340 pilot than the 152 pilot. Both share culpability here. But I would hold myself more accountable as an experienced pilot over an accident with a student. And I guess I hold the 340 pilot to that higher standard. What do you think? Equal responsibility for this? Let me know below. I mentioned before I've been known to do a straight in, but let me tell you about my own personal rules I have for pattern entry. The only time I do a straight in is if no one else is in the pattern, and even then I'm on the lookout for Nordo traffic. If there's even one plane in the pattern, I'm going to do the advised traffic pattern entry. Also, if it's a new to me airport, even with no traffic, I'm going to do like a midfield crossover or 45 downwind entry so I can get a good look at the runway. I don't know what was going on through the 340 pilot's mind when he was at 180 knots on final, and the 152, very slow, is saying over the radio that he's in front and that the 340 was overtaking. It just makes no sense to me. It is a horrible tragedy. Okay, let's end on something a little more positive. NASA is launching the Artemis 1, currently scheduled for August 29th launch. The first time in many decades, the Space Launch System Super Heavy launch vehicle has a stacked rocket on it. And I remember as an 11-year-old visiting NASA in Florida, getting to walk up to the huge tracks, a memory I'll always have. And it'll be hauling an unmanned Orion spacecraft up to a lunar orbit. On board will be Captain Munikin Campos, a mannequin named after Arturo Campos, who was a key engineer resolving the emergency of the Apollo 13 mission. Joining Captain Munikin will be NASA's Snoopy and ESA's Shaun the Sheep. You know, if they just asked, I'd have gone. Munikins will be fitted with radiation sensors, and the seats will contain acceleration and vibration sensors. The trip will take approximately 20 days, and I wish everyone at NASA and the Artemis program tailwinds and blue skies. Well, at least until you leave orbit, then I guess black skies or whatever. The Artemis program is targeting a crewed landing on the moon by 2024 with the long-range goal of creating a launch platform for missions to Mars and beyond. Well, that's it for the aviation news today, and I'd like to thank our sponsors, FlyingEyesOptics.com. Use that TakingOff for a 10% discount, and if you're looking for a residential mortgage or refi, check out Colton, TakingOff.com. And Marshall Protective Services. All of our sponsors are run by pilots. Let's support our aviation community. And remember, superior judgment trumps superior skill. Stay safe. See you next time.